you're attempting max effort lifts, we are going to take 7 to 9 total jumps in order to get to our 1 rep max, 3 rep max, whatever is planned for the day. We're typically going to start with the bar. If you are someone who is moving weight upwards of 450, 500 pounds, you may not want to count the bar as one of your lifts. You may want to just start with your first attempt at 135. So if you have a 45-pound bar, this is plates on each side. And so typically we're going to warm up our first attempt with the bar, and then maybe we're going to do something like 6 to 10. People are going to have different feelings about basically like whatever you feel like is going to get you warm. And then from here, we're going to add plates to 135. That is a 90-pound jump. The other thing that we want to keep in mind when we are going for a max effort attempt is that as we get closer to our 1 rep max or our PR, we are going to taper our jumps. This is very important to do. So they either need to be smaller jumps, getting smaller and smaller from attempt to attempt, or they at least need to match each other so that they are a smaller overall percentage. So from 135, we can go to 225. So we're at our third attempt here, and this is another 90-pound jump. So we are matching, but because we have 225 on the bar rather than 135, now that 90 pounds is a smaller percentage of that 225, so we're still tapering. Each lifter is different. Some lifters like to take a bunch of huge jumps and then get really, really close to their PR number and then take only like a 5 or 10 pound jump. Ultimately, what we would want to happen is getting used to bigger jumps so that we're not wasting our time on volume in this lower end number. So from here, we could go from 225 to 275. This is a 50-pound jump. Again, we're tapering. We're at attempt number 4. These first 1, 2, 3, 4, even maybe 5 attempts can happen in fairly quick order from one another. Maybe like 2 or 3 minutes rest. You don't need a lot of recovery in your lower end percentage range. And then from here, this is also another 50-pound jump from 275 to 315, but just as before, this 50 pounds is a smaller percentage than 315 on the bar versus 50 pounds with 275 on the bar. As we get to from 5 to 6, remember, we're always trying to get to 7 to 9 attempts. So it can be helpful to plan out your jumps like this. If you're working with me, I'm happy to look your jumps over and confirm that they look good. If you don't know what your PR is going to be, you're going to kind of have to go by feel. So I would be more conservative in the jumps and then start to slow down when you feel like the weight is slowing down. So from 315 to 355, that's a 40-pound jump, and we're on our 6th attempt. We need to have 3 or more attempts, or we're shooting to have 3 attempts over, not 3 or more, 3 attempts over our 95-97% threshold. And we're doing this because we want to get some good volume in that absolute strength range. That is why we are training a 1 rep max, is to train the central nervous system, train our absolute strength. What's happening here is we are getting absolutely as many muscle fibers as we can to get recruited in order to produce force in one big giant effort, which is great for the sport of powerlifting because that's exactly what we're being asked to do on the platform. But it's also good for non-athletes as well, because getting up out of a chair, standing off of a toilet, also neural drive as we age is one of the first things to start to decrease. So absolute strength stimulus or max effort stimulus is going to help us train that neural drive. So back to our chart here, these last attempts, this is number 7. So this is at least where we would want to end in order to get the amount of volume that we're looking for in our main movement. And so I programmed this as if a previous time I had some kind of squat variation where I hit 400 pounds, and I'm always shooting to get a little bit of a PR. So I planned my attempts today so that I could get a 5-pound PR. It's possible that once I get here and once I get here, there's more left in the tank and I can adjust my jumps. But I set myself up so that I could be adaptable once I get under the bar. It's also possible that this isn't there, in which case we would just adjust. It's more important to train the stimulus, which is that max effort stimulus, than to shoot for the number. And this is such a common mistake that folks make when they're training max effort. They feel like, I previously did this, that means I have to do this, or I'm not progressing. That's something else entirely. We are just trying to train max effort, and if this is your max effort or this is your max effort on that particular day, then you have done your job. You have trained up into your end ranges, because that max effort on your body, that needle can move up or down depending on a number of variables. Some of them aren't even training variables. So once you get to 6 and 7, we're going to slow down, take a little bit more rest, probably closer to 7 to 9 minutes. If you are in meet prep, you might actually want to take the same amount of time that you would likely have between attempts in your flight. That can just be helpful from a mental, psychological standpoint. So 55 to 85, we've got a 30-pound jump, another taper. From 85 to 40, now we're going to cut that in half. This is 15, and like I said, we could simply go up 5 pounds if we feel like that's there for the day, but I could also potentially go to 415 if I wanted to, because I can match my previous attempt. So I have the opportunity to PR by 5 pounds or to PR by 15 pounds. And this is the way that we would plan all of our jumps for 1 rep maxes, regardless of what the lift is. And this is also how we would plan our jumps for the day of the meet. We would plan up what our warm-ups are going to be in the warm-up room, and then we would plan what our attempts are going to be on the platform. If you are doing a 3 rep max, for instance, for a good morning, we're still going to want to hit the 7 to 9 jumps. That can be a little bit trickier because doing 3 reps is much more difficult, or it can be, than doing that 1 rep, depending on what the variation is. So my recommendation would be to kind of slow down these jumps at the beginning. So say it's a good morning, we might do the bar for the same thing, 6 to 10, and then we're gonna go to, and say it's a safety squat bar, I might just put quarters on, for instance. So let's say that this is 95, and I'm gonna do this for 5 or 6, and then my third jump, I'm gonna do a 40-pound jump because I just did a 50-pound jump. So 105, 115, 125, 135. So here I am at a plate. I'm gonna do 3s from now on. I failed to mention that when I was talking about our jumps for a 1 rep max. After your first attempt at the bar, after your first attempt at say 135 for a squat, probably somewhere at 3 and 4, definitely not past 3, you are just going to take singles. So it would be 135 by 1, and then this one was 225 by 1. This one was 275 by 1, okay? So these are going to feel easy. Obviously, this is such a these are low percentages. You can do them for more than just 1. But again, the purpose of this day is to lift the most weight possible at the end of this build. So we are not interested in taking a bunch of reps at a lower volume. We don't use maximal effort to build strength. We use maximal effort to train our nervous system and to express strength. After you get done here, we're gonna hit a ton of volume on accessory work and all of that. So make sure you're just understanding the intent of the day. And I think depending, if you're a geared lifter, this could take a little bit longer depending on whether you're getting into your full kit. If you're a raw lifter and you're getting into sleeves, you would get into your sleeves around here regardless of who you are, so that you're gonna end up taking 3 to 4 wrapped attempts, particularly when you're in meet prep. If you're just in the off season, you might only want to take like 2 wrapped attempts. That's fine. If you're in sleeves, you're gonna, you know, put the sleeves on that you wanna be maxing out with, you know, early on, somewhere in the middle, similar to wraps, but probably a little bit before then. And then from there, you'll have probably all in. This is gonna take between 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes if you are a geared lifter. If you are a raw lifter, it's gonna take half of that. It's gonna take even shorter for like a raw bench single.